Topping today's news, the Prime Minister debunks reports of water and sewage rates going up. The Prime Minister alarmed at global warming surpassing 1.5 degrees centigrade. We get an update on the sale of the Grand Lucayan Hotel, and a murder suspect returned to the country while police investigating 3 drownings on the weekend. Good evening, Bahamas. I'm Jcn Saunders. This is your JCN Evening News, and it is a pleasure to have you join us. To the relief of many home and business owners, water rates will not be going up. Prime Minister Davis, who is in New York for the United Nations General Assembly, has sent an audiovisual statement saying that while it has been recommended, it will not happen.
It's been brought to my attention that a headline in the Tribune has caused Bahamians to believe that the government has taken some decision to increase water prices. That is absolutely not true. There's no intention of government to raise water rates at any time. Nor will we be taxing wells. In fact, the recommendations have been made many years for the taxing of wells dating back to the Pinling administration and increasing of water rate dating back to the Pinling administration. We do not intend to do either, tax wells or raise water rates.
Mr. Leon Lundy had confirmed that no formal decision had been made on proposals to increase the rates on water and private wells. Opposition Deputy Leader Shannon Dawn Cartwright was quick to slam the government on the idea. 1.5 to stay alive. You may remember that motto when the goal was to not let global warming exceed 1.5 degrees centigrade. Well, the world has exceeded that temperature in record time for more than a full year. The news shook Prime Minister Philip Davis, who on Sunday spoke to the issue that has become a hallmark of his administration as Climate Week got underway in New York City.
For the first time, global warming has exceeded 1.5 degrees Celsius across an entire year. Not for a day, not for a week, but for an entire year. Let those words sink in, because they mark a profound shift, a turning point in our planet's story, and demands a fundamental reckoning with the way we move forward. This isn't a time for platitudes. The 1.5 degrees centigrade reality dismantles the very notion that incremental change will be enough. The old playbooks, the familiar arguments, they no longer hold sway in a world where this threshold has been crossed. For too long, the global response has been defined by inertia, by a dangerous insistence on clinging to business as usual.
As the Bahamas is one of the countries most vulnerable to the impacts of climate change, Prime Minister Davis expressed optimism that the world is moving in the right direction.
A wave of change is sweeping the globe. More and more nations are recognizing the urgency of the crisis and setting ambitious targets to reduce emissions and transition to a cleaner, more sustainable future. The recent passing of the Inflation Reduction Act was the largest piece of climate legislation in the U.S. history. Multilateral development banks, acknowledging the critical role of finance in driving this transformation, have tripled their climate investments over the past decade. This momentum is undeniably a testament to the growing global consensus that climate action is not just enlightened self-interest, but an economic and strategic necessity.
Scientists suggest surpassing the 1.5 degree threshold would trigger irreversible changes like the melting of the Greenland ice sheet. Climate Week comes as world leaders get ready for the United Nations General Assembly that will open this week. While in New York, Prime Minister Davis attended a bilateral meeting with the Crown Prince of Kuwait, Sabah Al Khalid Al Sabah. The meeting, held in commemoration of the 30th anniversary of diplomatic relations between the Bahamas and Kuwait, emphasized mutual respect and cooperation. Prime Minister Davis highlighted the recent appointment of Tehran Maki as Bahamian ambassador to Kuwait, and they discussed the ongoing study for the redevelopment of Potter's Key. that's supported by the Kuwait's Fund for Economic Development. Both leaders expressed optimism about the finalization of a civil aviation agreement which will enhance air connectivity between the two nations. In addition, they discussed pending initiatives such as agreements on double taxation, which are critical for advancing bilateral cooperation. The Kuwait Investment Authority also signaled its interest in increasing investments here in the Bahamas. And finally, in this segment, Grand Lucayan has been described as the anchor project or the anchor resort for the entire Grand Bahama Island. And with its closure, hundreds of jobs were lost. It has been very challenging for both the Minnis administration and now the Davis administration to sell the hotel that would no doubt help reinvigorate the Grand Bahama economy. On Thursday, Prime Minister Philip Davis said the government is close to selling the beautiful resort to a preferred buyer.
In respect to the Grand Lucayan, we are in intense discussions with an intended buyer. And the issue for us, of course, is to ensure that we just don't sell for selling's sake or to tick a box. We want to make sure that when we sell, that we want a because we've indicated we want a world-class brand name to be associated with the reopening. And I'm hopeful and I'm encouraged that we will have that. And within the next 2 weeks or so, we should be closing an arrangement in that. Until then, just stay tuned and we will let you know.
The government purchased the Grand Lucayan for $65 million in 2018. A large part of the reason it has been difficult for successive governments to sell the hotel is tied to sufficient airlift to the island and the lack of a modern international airport. Prime Minister Davis also gave us an update on the Grand Bahama International Airport renovations.
In respect to the airport, that is moving along slower than I expected. I had anticipated by now we should have had shovels in the ground. I think I'm to have a meeting now with all the stakeholders and those who have indicated that they wish to participate in that renovation. That meeting should be held either tomorrow or it can't be next week, as soon as I'm back from the General Assembly. But we are moving assiduously to ensure that that is happening.
A consortium of companies including Aerodrome Limited, which is a Bahamian group, Manchester Airport Group that manages 3 airports in the United Kingdom, and BHM Construction International, they also are out of the United Kingdom. They will execute the more than $200 million transformation of the Grand Bahama International Airport that was severely damaged during Hurricane Dorian. You're listening to JCN News. We'll take a break here. We'll be right back after these commercials.